actually have an opening prayer as well. And also what I'd like is to maybe start with Brian telling us a bit of a story about All Peoples. You have something
Okay.
that you can tell us about some challenges and some of the things that you've been doing at All Peoples. And so I'd like to hear that. And I heard just the tail end of what you were saying, Brian, because we really want to make sure that we make people aware of resources that are available. But after Brian tells the story, I'd like to ask Cindy if you would share some of what you are involved in from an ELCA standpoint.
Okay.
And then if the two of you could share what you're doing on the team, food justice teamwork for the Greater Milwaukee Synod, and then tell people about some of the resources and the opportunities that are available. So that's some of what I really would like to hear. And then we can see if people have questions at the end, primarily, because I'd like us to have an opportunity to share this information with them. I know, Cindy, that you had mentioned that you would like to share information regarding the hunger grants, the ELCA World Hunger Grants, so that people can be made aware of some resources available there. And then talking about Outreach for Hope and all the other opportunities that are available. And some of the things, there's some things, of course, that are happening in the city of Milwaukee that I know that, I've seen Brian at some events, and I know that you two are aware of some of the other things outside of our synod that are available and some partnerships. So that's what I was thinking. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Perfect.
Dr. Rose,
if I get,
Yep.
I just wanted to remind you, either at the beginning or the end, can you also mention the recording of last month's?
Actually, last month's and the others are on there too, right?
Yes,
People
absolutely.
can access any of the previously recorded
Yep.
opportunities to be inspired for mission.
Yes, and we have 5 people in the waiting, 6 people, 5 people in the waiting room. So I'm going to start letting them in if that's all right.
Please.
Okay.
Good evening. Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Fine. How is your new job going with the Synod Council?
I think you're muted, Dr. Rose.
Sorry. Learning, growing, and I think it's going well so far.
Good job.
Thanks for asking.
They picked a good person, or we
I
picked.
appreciate that. I appreciate
Yes.
that. Keep the prayers coming.
Oh, yes. When I see you, I'll give you a big hug.
Oh, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, yes.
So we are going to give people a few more minutes to gather and join us, and then we'll get started. We have a lot to cover tonight. And I'm going to say, if you're not speaking, that if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Give it just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. I appreciate everyone who has joined us on time so that we can get things going. Is it just me or does 2 minutes seem like a long time?
Especially when everybody is quiet.
Yes.
Thought maybe my volume wasn't working, but then I saw everybody was just muted.
Yeah, you're right, Pastor Juniper. You can feel free to talk. Well, let's get going so that we can cover the things that we want. And so you have opportunities to ask any questions that you might have. And as people join us, they can just join in. So as we get started, I am going to actually ask Pastor Juniper if they would open this session in prayer.
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
I was just getting everybody's lunches ready for tomorrow, but here we go. Now I'm in a more presentable place. Let us pray. Holy God, we thank you for bringing us all together here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to share our wisdom amongst our different churches and different locations. I pray that our conversation tonight would be fruitful and would all be in service to your word as we strive to be your hands and feet to serve a world in great need of love and of food and of prayer. Bless our conversation tonight. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. So we are talking about food justice, and some of us were saying as we were gathering that this is a very timely conversation. And so the mission table members wanted to give us an opportunity to learn from one another, but especially to learn from some people that are very actively involved in food justice. And that includes Cindy Dobreke, who is a member of the Greater Milwaukee Senate team that is part of the Hunger Justice team, as well as involved from the standpoint of the ELCA with the World Hunger. And also we have Brian Bowling, who is at All Peoples and also a member of the Greater Milwaukee Senate team. So they are going to share some of their knowledge, their experience, some resources. And Brian is actually going to start us off and talk a bit about All Peoples. As we know, this is a challenging time for people that have food insecurity and for organizations that are trying to meet those needs in our communities. So Brian, if you would start off, and I'm going to ask if people have questions, if you can ask questions after each person finishes their presentation. But if you do say something, please identify yourself and let us know your congregation and where you are, and if you're a rostered or a lay leader or how you're involved in the food ministry at your organization. So Brian, if you would kick us off, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for letting me speak a little bit on Pantry World, because right now, this last week has been a little chaotic and very, very busy because, yes, this is the end of October. We have our pantry tomorrow, so supposedly nobody is missing anything yet, but we all know that especially SNAP folks that are just a single person in a family, they're only getting $23. So there's always a need for that because $23 in a month doesn't go very far. So when I started with the pantry in 2020 during the pandemic, it was just, I knew we had a pantry, but I'd never been there. So because I worked. So I said, people still will probably need to eat during the pandemic. So we'll, I can put bags together. And that's pretty much all I did for the first 6 months. And there were only 15 to 25 people coming through during that time until in 2020, then or end of 2020, I was asked to take over the program because Pastor Tommy had a full-time job available to him and with benefits. And it's like, I'm sure I can do it, I guess, not knowing what to really expect. I mean, pre-pandemic, All Peoples had a Bible study and a lunch and then pantry. And one of the main folks, I don't know if many of you know Carolyn Jewett, she passed on Friday, last Friday. So she was our neighborhood minister at All Peoples for 15 years at least. So but that they only allowed 25 people, and it was pretty simple, straightforward, not that much as far as people going. But once the pandemic started, there is no way you could eat together, much less be in the same building together. So we put bags together, and people came and took food. And as the as the pandemic got longer, numbers started to go up just a little bit, but we never had more than 35 until after the 2023, end of 22, when all of the pandemic resources that the government had been paying people went down. And we started in March of 22, actually having people come in, and we had carts set up and people could pick what they wanted, because that's way more dignified than just handing them a bag and saying, you get what we give you. It's much nicer, and people appreciate that too, because they're actually taking what they want, and very little food then is wasted. So as in the end of, or it was 2023, no, 2023 is when all the supplemental income stopped from the pandemic. And within 6 months, we were in the 60s and 80s families that we were seeing on a pretty regular basis. And since July of last year, it just has climbed. We're in the almost 100 a week now going. And last week, with all the stuff going on in the shutdown, we had 117 guests come through, family members. And we're only thinking that's going to get worse tomorrow. So it's really hard to know. We don't know really what to expect, because nothing's going to be really missed until November starts. But we're starting to we're starting to see more people just from 211, people calling and looking for pantry. And we're also involved with Unite Us, which forwards food insecurity from folks. And we're a site that they can go to. And we've had a couple of those just this week, which we don't get real often. So the biggest issue is going to be, I don't think, is going to be SNAP ending, because if you're single, a single person in a family, you're losing only $23. That's not a huge amount. That it still helped, but and a family of 4 would be, they're getting probably somewhere around, I think they were getting little over $300 during the pandemic, and that got cut to about 150. So people are going to lose $150 a month. That's family. The bigger the family, the more you're going to be hurting. The bigger issue for me is going to be if we do not get the healthcare the Affordable Care Act to continue on with the supplements that they were doing, started in the pandemic. If that stops and people are going to lose or have to pay triple is what I'm seeing. You're going from $500 to $1,500 that you're going to have to pay. Right now, we don't see hardly any of those people in our pantry. That is going to be the biggest. We're going to see things jump unbelievable, is my feeling, because of what is happening. So both are going to hurt people, and it's going to be. I'm just pure speculating on what could happen, but that is sort of what I'm seeing. For all peoples, we have about 10 to 15, 12 to 15 partner churches that have really stepped up in the last year for us. And really, once those, the supplemental money dropped, people started coming in, and we got a solid response from our partners. And all the Hunger Task Force, Feeding America, and Just One More Ministry, which is a ministry that sort of gleans food from Amazon, 3 or 4 grocery stores, a Kroger, maybe a Walmart or 2, and just donations from some grocery stores. They have been just cut drastically. What I used to get is free food. We weren't even charged for almost every. I didn't actually have to buy any for the first 3 years that I was doing pantry. There was no need to spend money. I had $500 receiver that was given to us. I spent that in November and December when we had our special Thanksgiving stuff that we handed out. That's the only time I spent money the first 3 years. In 2024, I ended up spending about $600 or $800. And this year I spent over $10,000. And we have Siebert up, we had $3,800 from them. And we have had a lot of partners in getting some other little grants that we're in actually pretty good shape. The last 2-3 weeks, I've had a lot of conversations with some of our partners wanting to, maybe help from their endowment fund, or, do something. How can we help? What's the biggest help we can do? So I know that our partners, which are mostly suburban, care, and they're really being generous right now. So All Peoples is in a pretty good place today, but if we go from 100 families to 200, there's no way we're going to have to change our hours or something, because we can't get 200 families through in 2 hours. I mean, 120 is 1 per minute, letting in and going. That doesn't leave a lot of time for thought on what you're going to pick out. So if we get much over that, we may have to try and extend our hours, get more volunteers. I don't know. I've been thinking about a lot of what if, and until something for sure happens and we know how bad it's going to be, it's just a lot of guesswork right now on my part.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for that overview and for that history. Anybody, just a couple of questions. Anybody have maybe 1 or 2 questions for Brian about the All People story before we have Cindy jump in? Pastor
I
June?
hear a lot of worry about the present and future, understandably so, but I wonder if you could also share what about this work brings you joy or hope.
What the biggest thing that has happened because of the amount of people that are needing pantry is our partners stepping in, volunteering, coming down, forming relationships with our guests. They get, hugs from people, and it's, some people just pray with us, and people, start singing songs. The average pantry guest is stereotype that everyone has is wrong. They are some of the most generous and thankful people that I have ever met. And that needs to be spoken about more often. And when I go to churches and thank them for being a partner with us, I usually mention that to let them know. And that's what is giving me the most joy, is the opportunity that we all have. Instead of being the church in our four walls, we're a community. We cannot, no one can do this alone. And anybody that thinks that you're just out in your own little world is wrong. We need to be partners together. And yes, All Peoples doesn't have a lot of money to offer folks to help things, your congregation stuff. You have networking and the availability to introduce you to what people are like that come from a different background than what you do. So it's extremely, that's what gives me the most joy in this horrible time that is been more stressful in the last year than ever before for me. But it's the relationships that I see being formed in front of my eyes.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, and thank you, Brian. I just want to mention before Cindy gets started that we are recording this episode, and so share and let other people know that we record each of the Inspired for Mission sessions so that people can go back, and you can go back. There was one on AI and how to incorporate that into our religious life and our spiritual life and our congregations and our church. And that was the last one from last month. So please go to the Greater Milwaukee Synod website, and then you'll find a place where you can go back and look at those and get some knowledge. So I'm going to ask Cindy to jump in and share some about what she and Brian are doing with the Greater Milwaukee Synod Hunger Task Force, or I should say team. It's a hunger team, as well as what she's doing with the LCA.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. It's wonderful to see everyone tonight. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a member at Mount Olive in Mukwonago, and have been had one foot in ELCA World Hunger as a layperson, excuse me, and also involved in the Synod work since, I don't know, I think since Matt Short and I had to do some domestic hunger grant reviews, which was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago now that we've had that opportunity. And of course, now with Pastor Becky coming on, she'll help us with that. But the hunger justice team has been very helpful with those domestic hunger grant reviews. I don't know if anybody would like to know more about that, but I can either let you know about that later. But I do want to build on what Brian was saying about the missional aspect of hunger work. We just had confirmation yesterday. We also call it affirmation of baptism for our young people yesterday. And, to work for justice and peace in the world, I don't know where else within the church that I can do that work except through hunger justice work, through ELCA World Hungers, supporting their ministries. And I'm not sure everybody knows, but hunger education is under the umbrella of ELCA World Hunger, as our advocacy, which I'm going to pop the link in there. If you're not a part of the advocacy network, this is, I really encourage you to take part in that. They have advocacy alerts that come out, well, as needed. And I think one came out today regarding the SNAP benefits. They're really simple to do. If you've never, just who's done one of the advocacy emails before? Yeah, so if you haven't done that, I really encourage you to take a look at those opportunities. They worked closely, ELCA World Hunger works closely with Bread for the World, and in terms of advocacy. And personally, I think with the SNAP issues right now and the government funding shutdown, I think that's probably the biggest place that we can impact our greater world, because as former presiding Bishop Eaton used to say, has said, we can't bake sale our way out of this. The amount of money that our government is frankly withholding right now is incredible, right? I think Wisconsin is $1.5 billion. Yeah, I think, Juniper, I put the advocacy link in there, if you can see it. Does everybody else see that?
Yes, I
Okay.
see it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
also, Pastor Jamie put a link in to get to the Inspired Clinician recordings.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Mhm.
And when you go, just FYI, when you go to the advocacy page, there are different categories, but you want the, I think it's, yeah, thank you. The action alerts is what gets you connected with the advocacy alerts. Let's see, where was I? Forgot my script. Let me see.
Okay, take your time.
Yeah. So advocacy is really important right now. Oh, I know. 1.5 billion with a B dollars that 700,000 Wisconsinites will not receive beginning this November 1st. So, as Brian said, it's through collaboration and joining together that we can support each other during this time of uncertainty and apparent scarcity. I have a feeling that God is going to provide in one way, shape, or form that is informs my faith very frequently around hunger work. So one of the opportunities that we are having through the Synod Hunger Justice Group is coming up on November 7th, and that's going to be hosted at Mount Hope with Donna. It'll be a wonderful opportunity for us to visit their ministry at Mount Hope and to have a meal together and have conversations like this where we can share the wisdom in the room. You know, it'll be a week after the shutdown or the SNAP benefits stopping. So we'll have more information. The uncertainty that Brian mentioned is very scary right now. It's obviously prayer is one way that we can hopefully move our legislators to come together and collaborate and find a reasonable solution to this problem. I don't want to let my political views out, but I just think that things are really, really different. They've never kind of been this way before. And hey, we're living through it. So we have each other, thank God. So I will also include the registration link for that event on November 7th, where again, we're going to come together, have conversation, learn from each other. And perhaps there are economies of scale that we can come together and utilize our monies in larger purchasing quantities. Maybe there's something like that we can do. I'm not sure if everyone on this call received the email that went out that Bishop Paul had asked me to send out regarding food pantries and a possible grant that UMOS is applying for. Now those funds don't begin, as I understand it, until February. But I did send out an email today, and if you did not receive it from me, please put your email in the chat and I can easily send that on. The information that they're looking for this grant, and it's regarding purchasing Wisconsin food for Wisconsin food pantries. If you didn't receive the email, please let me know. There is a deadline of tomorrow for this. And I just got the information today. So we just wanted to make sure that whomever is interested in possibly being a part of this grant, not that there's any sure thing in receiving grants these days, but at least it is a possibility. Oh, and I did want to mention that Wisconsin has its own advocacy office. Not sure if everybody knew that or not, but we've just hired a new director, and she is out of Madison, and she is planning to be with us on that November 7th event, and either in person or via Zoom. So that would be a great opportunity for us to hear from her. I know she's doing a lot of work, obviously working with other groups and agencies to do what we can in this uncertain time. So I think that's maybe all I can share at this moment. If you have any questions for me, please feel free.
What about the World Hunger, the ELCA World Hunger grants? Is there any?
Sure. So there are, obviously, world is in the name. So there are international grants for ministries that are sent around the world. And we also have domestic hunger grants. Now, this year, the Greater Milwaukee Synod had 7 letters of intent that were sent to ELCA World Hunger. And we understand that one of those 7 were invited to continue into the process and perhaps receive a grant. These are significant grants that are looking up to $10,000 for 3 years. And they're looking for projects that are innovative, that are integrated in the community, and sort of unique kind. I don't mean to say unique in a weird kind of way. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. But the grants are for sort of keystone kinds of programs that can be used to show how to rethink a little bit about what we do, because we all know that we would rather not do this work, right? We would rather that everyone can feed themselves and have healthy food, and then God provides for that. There is abundance in this world. However, it's systems that get distorted so that there isn't enough so that people go hungry. But hopefully we can work together and put ourselves out of business. That would be my goal.
Thank you. That's a wonderful goal.
And I can vouch for that because we, all peoples, actually did get, as a matter of fact, at 11:30 this morning and this afternoon, we talked with World Hunger. We had our interview with them.
Oh, excellent.
So we are in the mix.
Excellent.
And we're going to start getting it, now actually filling out the application.
That's fantastic news. Yeah, it's a highly competitive grant. Out of the 65 synods in the ELCA, I think there were over 300 letters of intent, and they'll probably distribute maybe 50 grants. So it's a pretty competitive thing. And I have to say that there are amazing ministries, hunger justice ministries in this Greater Milwaukee Synod that we should be proud of, and that we can learn from and celebrate too. So.
Thank you. So any questions for Cindy and for Brian? Any questions? Donna?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
So Brian, I wanted to go back to you. I'm Donna from Mount Hope in West Dallas. That's where the meeting is going to be held next week. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there, but some other representatives will be there from our organization. And I'm sad about that because I'm really excited to show people some of the things that we do. I wondered do you have like parameters around who is allowed to come and visit? Do you have certain zip codes or anything like that?
The only parameter is that you need to show up and you have to stand in line and wait your turn.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
if you're willing to stand in line for two from 30 minutes to 2 hours,
Right.
you're hungry for a pantry thing is just, it's amazing to me that people do that.
Yeah. So our situation is slightly different. When we started ours, this is our 10th year. It's a food and clothing ministry that takes up the entire bottom floor of the educational unit now. We started out by getting referrals from the school system for families, children and their families who are unhoused. And that has worked well for a long time. But there's been more and more need, more and more transiency in West Dallas. The school systems now are at about 70% free and reduced lunch. And so there are many families and children that are on the edge. There are also older people, of course, on fixed incomes, just people on disabilities, young moms with little kids that aren't in school yet. So we've had people find their way to us in various ways. We're now up to over 200 families that we serve, and that represents about 850 to 900 people. We keep meticulous records of what we have. And, because we make our own rules, we're not beholden to any organization about how we accept people in. We tend to say yes when we can. I'm really, this meeting is so timely because tonight I am so worried. I'm in a state of just anxiety. I received 5 phone calls today from people that found us online. And I always have a conversation with them, and we have pretty much typically stayed in West Dallas. However, our families, even that were referred by the schools, don't all live in West Dallas because they are unhoused, right? So the school district keeps the kids in school as long as they can by providing transportation so they don't have to change schools. But our families live on the north side, on the south side, in the city, all over the place. And so we have families all over the city. What I'm worried about at this point is, because we have sort of criteria, but not, and I'm worried about our capacity to serve more. I talked to, like I said, 5 different people today. So far, I've accepted 3 into our program. One I said no to, which broke my heart. Because she didn't fit the criteria of being connected in any way to West Dallas or having a referral source. We have a pretty specific records on everybody. We keep individual records on everybody. I totally second your thing about relationships, because definitely we have relationships with people. And we always tell people we are never going to let go of you. You let go of us when you no longer need our help. So even when people are unhoused, when they get an apartment or get us situated, we don't ever let go of them until they're ready, because they still have a high amount of need. But so the good thing is, here's some good news, is that we're forming a board that will first meet in early December. We've got some members of some volunteers, more than 2/3 of our volunteers are not members of our church. They're from the community. Word of mouth has gotten around. So we have people that are going to be on this board that are members, that are not members, that are volunteers. We have one mom who visits the pantry and closet regularly that is also going to be a representative. And one of the ideas that we had, one of the gentlemen that's going to be on the committee said that he feels like a lot of the money that's available can be local, like businesses right here. And one of the ideas we had was to invite the West Dallas Chamber of Commerce to meet at our church and then take a tour of our facility and then kind of tie them in that way. So we have some ideas about how to do that. But I'm very worried about resources. We're open 3 days a week. We're open a total of 8 hours a week, and we're having trouble keeping up. It's really, really, really been busy and pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, I can believe that. The one thing that I forgot to mention about All Peoples, our food justice world, is that, you know, yes, I'm in the pantry, so I talked about the pantry. We also have a garden that is open 3 days a week.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, we get deliveries, you know, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, mostly from Feeding America and Just One More. And between them and us, we also have a St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Archdiocese serving meals 5 nights a week, hot meals 5 nights a week. We have Tikkun Ha'er, which is a Jewish organization that gleans vegetables from the farmers markets from July through the middle of August, and they use our kitchen to make 350 to 500 meals for shelters, daycares, and some after-school programs. And we are having a Seventh-day Adventist church from Harambe neighborhood that is going to start feeding a hot meal on Saturdays next week. So
that's great.
During from our little corner of Second and Clark, we're feeding almost 2,000 people a week.
Oh, wow.
During the summer, when Tikkun Ha'er is gleaning vegetables, it goes down to, you know, almost 1,500 during the week.
Right.
You know, a week the rest of the time. So
that's amazing. We do have a church that recently volunteered to make us meals that we can put in the freezer for families as a supplement, casseroles and stews and things like that. They're going to try to do that once a month. But I like the idea. Tell me about St. Vincent de Paul, how that came about. They come and serve meals at your church?
Yes, they use our kitchen. And about 10, 11, 12 years ago, they were on King Drive, which is 3rd Street, 3rd and Center, in a school. The school got sold and they had no place to go. And they knew of us.
Okay.
So we formed a connection, and we All Peoples did not have a commercial kitchen. It was pretty low key. And we put, they paid $250,000. We put $250,000 in for about $500,000 to turn our kitchen into a commercial kitchen.
Wow.
Moving some walls and doing things. So
right.
It's grown. It was just because we were right there, and they needed another north side place to fill. They have 2 buildings. They have one on the south side, 10th and Madison, just off of National, and then All Peoples on the north side.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing your information as well, Donna. It's interesting to hear I would say, comprehensive hunger justice, and, you know, you said clothing as well, but dealing with people that are in need and multiple capacities, and to hear all the things that you're doing as well, Brian. This is really inspiring. But does anyone else have questions for Brian, for Cindy, or even for Donna as well, with all that they're doing, or something that you want to share about your ministry? Anyone?
I have a question for Brian. Do you find that if you receive money, that you can use that money to purchase greater amounts of food, or is it better to receive the canned items or whatever people donate?
Yes.
Does cash go farther?
Either one works. It's another step that we need to find somebody to do shopping, because I can't do that. So it takes, we do have a one congregation that is bringing right now, they're doing the shopping for us, and they're bringing 48, 4 cases of 2 items that are on a rotating basis. They have like 8 items that we just rotate because those are our most popular. And we've been able to provide the money for them to do that. At a year and a half ago, we had a couple from the church that just did that on their own every single week and would bring us 160 cans of something, and it was like amazing. But they had to retire from that because they were too old to do it. But we kept the idea going, and just this week I have now upped what we're going to get from them. They're adding an extra couple cases, so we get 72, 80 of 2 different items. So either way works. I mean, the money we can do, if you actually do the buying and stop by, that's the most advantageous, because you get to meet some people. You can start a relationship. That writing a check, don't get me wrong, we'll always accept checks, but it's for me, I encourage people to actually do shopping or, food drives in their churches, which that's what's happening now a lot more. And, come down, talk with us, see what we do. I can show you the air, our pantry and the garden area, and get a little better feel for, what we do, and a couple of the volunteers that are at our church. So
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to host the last Feeding Ministries conversation at All Peoples, and some of us were able to go early and help with their garden a little bit. But it truly is, as yours is as well, Donna, just inspiring ministries that we have in the Synod. The work is amazing. It is truly amazing.
Any other questions or comments? While you're thinking, I have a question for both Donna and Brian. In your gardens, are you teaching members of the community or the guests that you serve how to garden? Or is there some instruction? And do they have an opportunity to have a little plot in the garden as well, or no?
in our garden, we do not. We tried having people, take a plot and do what you want with it, but it usually fell by the wayside. A lot of people moved and they have this plot then that they're too far away or they can't get to anymore. We do have a lot of help. Susan is the one that runs our garden, and she has 48 beds that she plants and takes care of. And we have, I would say, 25 to 30 volunteers from the community that shop at the garden stand on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So they're involved. They really help a lot. And we also get a lot of youth works and Serve Boldly. Serve Boldly is a ELCA youth program that nationwide, we've probably had, 10 or 15 of those groups in the last, this last summer. So because it's so easy to hand out a can. I don't have to water it. I don't have to weed it. I don't have to pick it. It's already done. All I have to do is hand it out. The growing people, the garden folks have way more work to do.
And our garden is minuscule compared to that. We just had our first year of operation and it's very tiny. It was started by a member of our congregation, and it was not super productive. We had some of our families did help occasionally when they could. We would just put the word out and say, we need to do such and such today or whatever. We were able to harvest a few things, but we hope to grow that, of course, but we're just dabbling in it right now. But I have to tell you something. My daughter-in-law, Sarah, is the director of Serve Boldly. So we get a lot of Serve Boldly kids at our church too in our program.
Wonderful, thank you. So Cindy had a question regarding the ELCA. Has there been any movement towards educating people to produce or grow their own food? Because some people have said that that's a way to not have people dependent on handouts and on food pantries if they can have a little garden or grow some food in their own backyard.
Sorry, I was muted there. Definitely. And I think there's actually a community gardens booklet that you can get either online through ELCA Hunger Education. I can try to find that and throw it in the link as well. But there's a lot of resources like that. There's a backpack buddy kind of resource where if you're interested in getting connected with your schools, then a lot of school districts have backpacks that kids take home over the weekend because there's no food at home. So here's a hopefully a respectful way of having people have food when school's not in session.
Thank you. Other questions, comments?
I just put in the registration for that November 7th event.
Thank you, Cindy.
And then here is the Lutheran Office of Public Policy in Wisconsin. The website's a little old, but I think now that the new director is hired, that will change.
Thank you. Anyone else who's involved in food justice or hunger justice ministries now or previously have any comments, thoughts, ideas? Or other questions?
I would just like to add that, if anybody doesn't have any connection with the pantry and we're just interested in, just information, maybe because of what's going on with the SNAP benefits, that Outreach for Hope is a wonderful opportunity for if you don't really want to deal with food, you'd rather deal with clothing or babies or, shelter, homeless, prison. There's Breaking the Chains. There's 22 different organizations that a congregation can get involved with if you're not involved with anything, and you have a hankering to do something to help. There's a lot of options available that I would encourage folks to look into and form a relationship. It's a very strong organization in this that the Synod has, which is the envy of many synods in the United States. So it's unique, and and it's working. And it really helps people form relationships to somebody other than their own four walls. So I really encourage that if anybody wants to get involved in something, there's a lot of opportunities.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Cindy. You've been putting more resources in the chat, so people can use that information.
I hope so.
We are really grateful for everyone that's on this call. We are thanking God for the work that you are doing. And as we noted before, this is for such a time as this, is what I'll say, that you are doing the work that you're doing with Hunger Justice. Thank you, Cindy and Brian, for leading the Greater Milwaukee Synod, along with Pastor Chris Mankey and a couple other people. Donna, the work that you're doing is amazing, and it's exciting to hear about it, and hopefully people will attend that meeting that will allow people to learn from one another. I've learned so much just hearing from each of you today. I want us to, heed what Brian said about Outreach for Hope, because Outreach for Hope is definitely helping to support the ministries and involved in this hunger justice. I'll call it a hunger justice fight, in this battle that we have now. And one of the things that you will be hearing soon is that the Greater Milwaukee Synod, Outreach for Hope, and Lutheran Campus Ministry are going to be joining forces. Why am I getting an echo like that? That they'll be joining forces to start an annual fund, and it'll be the annual Equipping the Saints Fund. So there will be opportunities for people that have the means to contribute above and beyond what they're already contributing to their congregation, or to whatever ministries they contribute. It'll be another opportunity to support Outreach for Hope, the Greater Milwaukee Synod Authentic Diversity Initiative, as well as to support Lutheran Campus Ministry. And so we want to make sure that if we can't be the boots on the ground doing the work, that we are able to support the people that are. But I really like Brian's idea of people coming and meeting the people. I had an opportunity to work in a food pantry for a few years at Cross Church in Milwaukee, and that was what brought me joy, having the opportunity to meet the people and the gratitude that they showed and the hugs that they gave, and the children that you met that you now knew were going to have food. And Pastor Juniper was there working with us and praying with people, because that was the other thing. The people needed prayer, and we were able to hand out coats to people, and hats and gloves, and sometimes sleeping bags or blankets or whatever we could get to help people. But meeting their spiritual needs was also a big aspect of what was included. So I don't want to hold us over. We have 3 minutes, but I want to remind you again to use that link that Pastor Jamie put in the chat to look at some of the other Inspired for Mission recordings. I want to thank the voices that spoke today to share the work that they're doing, to inspire us, to answer our questions. Thank you, Brian, Cindy, Donna, for what you're doing. And I just also want to thank the people that support Outreach for Hope. Thank you if your congregation is one of those that provide food. I know that that's something that Pastor Kevin's congregation and at St. Matthew's in Wauwatosa did for Cross, and they're probably doing for other congregations. However you are contributing to the hunger justice ministries of the Greater Milwaukee Synod and of the ELCA, we're grateful and want to support one another. So what's that date again, Cindy, that people need to come to Donna's church, even though Donna won't be there? And what's that one?
I'm sorry, Donna's not going to be there. We're asking people to register by November 3rd, which I think is Monday, but just so we have enough food, because we're going to break bread together. And so that's November 7th is the event. And if you can register by November 3rd, we'd appreciate it. So.
Okay. And I would like us to, in these last couple of minutes, to pray. Because I know sometimes when I feel hopeless, and have to admit, I won't get into politics either, Cindy, but I'm not hopeless despite what I see and hear going on around me because of prayer and because of people like the people that I get an opportunity to work with in the Greater Milwaukee Synod. So I'm going to ask that we just pray and then we'll close out. So, gracious and loving God, we just thank you for your endless mercy, for the love that you show us in ways that we could never imagine. Thank you for each and every person that is on this call. Thank you for the work that they are doing to feed the hungry, to heed your call, to be there for people in need. Help us to remember that that is a major part of what we are called to do as a church and as a people that follow Jesus, that love Jesus, and that obey his commands. We thank you for the work that Cindy and Brian are doing, and pray that all peoples will continue to be able to grow their hunger justice ministry in a way that will be able to meet the needs of the people that they serve. I pray that Mount Olive will also be able to do the same, continue to fortify and strengthen everyone that is involved in hunger justice work in our Synod and in the ELCA. Bless us as we go about our struggle to continue to represent you, Jesus. Bless us, give us continued strengthening by the power of the Holy Spirit, that we may be able to do all that we are called to do. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you so much. And we will make sure that you are aware of the next Inspired for Mission. It is same time, usually same day of the week, same week of the month. So you can figure that out. Last time though, it was at a different time, and we'll let you know if that happens. We tried something different, but usually we are on this fourth Tuesday at 6:30 p.m.
But
Pastor
not
Jamie.
in November.
Yes, but not in November.
We're trying to keep
For obvious
everyone
reasons.
on their toes. Yeah.
Obvious reasons.
But we will gather again online on Tuesday. I believe it's December 2nd. It's the first Tuesday in December, and we're going to hear some stories from Wild Church folks about how nature, spirituality has influenced their lives of faith. But we'll send out a reminder for you. And actually, in this next minute or two, if you didn't receive an email or two from me, and you would like to be reminded of the next meeting, put your email in the chat, and I'll make sure you're on that list.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just want to make sure that people take a look at the Outreach for Hope little video that was put together by Pastor Chris for Incarnation, how important the food pantry is to the neighborhood at Incarnation. They did a great job. They interviewed like 3 people. So it was a great piece.
Thank you, Pastor Karen. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Good night.
You too. Good night.